Maybe that's the future meta of Rocket League. This has definitely helped me appreciate what Liquid were trying to do as a team. YouTube mode activated. Right. So the weekend, we had the European Full Invitational in Europe. Yep, that's right. YouTube mode activate. Okay. Last weekend, we had the EU Fall Invitational, and a surprising amount of results went differently to how expected. In particular, Team Liquid coming out on top. They came first in the regional. KCorp making the final. Kind of expected. To start things off, let's just look at the general overall stats. So goals per game, almost 10 goals per shots per game for Liquid with 2 goals. So 2 goals is a pretty good rate. That's pretty much like the gold standard for teams 2 and above to get consistent wins. Just a little bit lower for KCorp, not quite able to break them down. Shooting percentage across the board, pretty standard. Boost per minute. So this is like if we order this by players, it's going to be all of the Liquid guys at the top, right? Oski, the highest boost user in the league, I'm pretty sure. They spend a lot of time at 0 boost, but they move around really fast. Very little time at 100 boost. And this is the main, I don't understand how this works. Like Liquid's boost is such a weird contradiction to what we see from the teams that are consistent and good. Low average amounts, too much boost being used, high times at 0 boost. Atto has pretty good small pad to big pad ratio. Acronix isn't too bad. Oski's getting a good amount of small pads, but not many, but too many big pads maybe. But he's probably getting a lot of boost steals, right? As you can see here, Atto getting a lot of boost steals. KCorp have Itachi, who's more of a small pad collector. And in this match, that looks like they've given up a lot of room by going back for 100s maybe, or I don't know. We'll have a see in the gameplay. But you can see here, look, time at 100 boost should be higher than time at 0 boost, but it's just so weird and backwards. Look how much used while supersonic. Like, I don't get why this works. But yeah, anyway, we'll move on here and let's have a little look. Acronic, the one who sits the furthest back. This is typical of these guys. The other two very close to the play. Acronic sitting further from the play, nice and deep. Atto tending to go for in front of the play stuff like bumps and stuff. I've just highlighted the wrong thing here. Oski's here, right? Oski there, and then you can see all of KCorp, pretty good vicinity to the ball with Itachi slightly closer than the rest, which is typical of them. So yeah, it's all, the stats are all looking pretty typical. You know, Atto's just not behind the ball. Yeah, so Chronic, good amount of time behind the ball. Atto, a lot of time in front of the ball. These guys are all around 72%. So these stats show that KCorp should have won it, right? Just based off of like the boost stats and the movement stats. You wait until you see the movement stats, guys. I haven't even looked at it, but I can almost guarantee we're going to see like 1650 to 1700 from the Liquid guys. And if not, then that's the reason why it worked. So much speed. I feel like it shouldn't work. Like in my head, it shouldn't work, but it is. And it's the same thing for the club in South America. It shouldn't work, but it does. And I guess if you're feeling good and your mechanics are on point and you're able to process the game at that speed, it will work. Stats don't actually matter that much, but they do, Oski. They do. Like they show stuff in the way you play. There's inefficiencies, and I'm like obviously when we watch your gameplay, there's other things that are relevant, right? Like the way you're playing, mechanics and things like that. But like I feel like you guys could be incredible, like so good if some of these things changed, right? Like here is a clear sign of wasted boost. A clear sign that you guys are spending too much time at 0 boost when maybe you could have a little bit more boost in the tank saved. Like your average boosts are lower, so you're reducing the amount of options you have in situations where you could have more boost. Maybe this is something of the future, right? You and the club have seen a new way of playing the game that's more futuristic and more about speed and more about collecting boost, but using a lot more boost so that your opponents don't have as much access to it. Maybe that's the future meta of Rocket League. And like having you here, Oski, while I'm doing the analysis will be interesting to get your perspective in it. Within every video game, you have ways that break the meta, right? The most effective tactic available. This could be one of them because you three as players have an extreme mechanical ability that most teams won't be able to replicate, right? Let's just look at the first game here. Let's just look as many games as possible. So Oski did mention in chat, again, this is a perspective that we can't really get just by normal watching, is they felt a bit nervous at the start, so they were struggling to pick up pads and things. But yeah, you can see some wasted boost here and there, just trying to move around the pitch. So yeah, it's a lot of stuff like this, right? Where these kinds of decisions use up a lot of boost and take you out of the play, but they create chaos, right? So the way I see Liquid's game plan right now is to create a chaotic environment for everyone in the lobby and then trust that they, as three very mechanical players who are good at reading the play and good at using their mechanics in 1v2 situations, 2v1 situations, that they can make their mechanics more effective through the chaos that's caused. So they just constantly... You see, like right here, that ball's popped out in a chaotic way right here. Because of Itachi. Like, Itachi right now is panicking because of the chaos that's been created here. Like, Acronix just banged that ball. Itachi's misread it. And then it creates a bit of chaos. And then Oski here, creating chaos, making touches that are hard to read. And so right now, the chaos they're creating is causing everyone in the lobby to rush their touches and panic a little bit. And then consequently, they like you see here, right? Like Oski's mechanics here, amazing stuff. The chaos has meant it's hard for Vatira to be able to judge the situation. Because sometimes, right here, Oski booms the ball away and gives up possession. Other times, he's able to follow it up, so it takes Vatira out of the play. But then what players like Vatira are quite good at is, even if they commit, they're still able to recover and pick up boost and stuff to keep in the play. So then they're not taken out for as long. And so that's where, like, a team that's efficient and challenge-based can still create goals out of a chaotic team. So it's like, teams, I think Gen G will do pretty well against this playstyle if they're ready for it, because they'll be able to control the chaos a little bit more with their efficiency and interceptions. But yeah, as long as Liquid are having a good day and they are mechanically on point, feeling it well, their communication's on point and so on, then they will look good. But like, you can see what happens with the chaos sometimes is when a player hones into that chaos. As we know, Itachi is a player. I'm going to focus a lot more on Liquid right through this, but we know the Itachi playstyle. We've tried replicating it in a whole video, and we know that what he's good at is just coming in and getting good 50-50s. And Vatira, very good at having 100 boost in space and turning it into stuff. And you see right there, just that moment of taking a deep breath, looking at the play, getting a good challenge in, taking control of the ball in the space. You see right there, that allows for a few touches to turn into a goal. So this is where the chaos can let them down if they're not ready to deal with the... if the opponents are ready to deal with the chaos and they're not ready to deal with the resetting of neutral. So you see right here, good control here from KCorp. Itachi just faking there. Getting a 50-50 with Atto that's going to go into a safe place. Exotic reads it well, is patient. Itachi, nice little slow touches. And now they're in advantage, right? And then this is where KCorp's mechanical ability with Vatira, oh, unbelievable, is able to punish it, right? So this is early on in the series, right? This is game one. KCorp win it comfortably, I would say. And this is what, in my mind, I would imagine would happen a lot of the time, right? Is Liquid rush, KCorp punish with moments of patience and good reads. And this is what happens when the chaos works, right? So Atto off the kickoff, chucks himself at the play. A little bit of chaos created here off of Itachi, right? So chaos has happened. Now Itachi has to react to that chaos. Acronic, because they're playing fast, they can react to the chaos faster a lot of the time. So you see here, Acronic's playing at supersonic speed, using a lot of boost to keep in the play. Creates more chaos off of that 50-50. And then Oski able to come in, use his mechanics to read that ball amazingly well. And this is what I'm trying to show you, right? Is the mechanical ability of Liquid, the chaos in the lobby that's being created, the speed that they're moving allows them to come in and punish teams when they misread it. But then what we saw the other way around is when KCorp are able to hone in on the unusual touches and really control them, they will find a quite direct route towards the net after a few touches. But yeah, as we heard from Oski in the chat, they were a little bit nervous in game one, so that might be why that stuff will happen. I want to look at this 3-0 game, because I think this one might show the chaotic game plan from Liquid done well. Look at this. This is like a Chronic flying here off the kickoff, right, with low boost. Exotic just waits, goes for the 50-50. They double commit, but then like look at how they convert Look at how they convert this situation into their favor. Oski just happens to follow through and get the bump. Like, I assume he targeted a little bit the bump after he realized, but like, it's just pure chaos, right? It's so weird how it's working. Like, they're so fast and mechanical and just making, like here, right? This whole play, like Atto being on the backboard there, almost getting the redirect towards the net. Oski, 0 boost now, gets their 100, recovering. Now Atto's out the play for ages. Achronic's in a 1v1 here. And like, again, it's just like recovering the situation with individual mechanical ability. Like, what's really good here for Liquid is their mechanics are clearly on point, right? You can see that from them. You can see that's one of their strengths, but it does just feel like they are doing stuff that throws off KCorp and then makes them have to do these little reactive touches. Like, just, oh, this is so hard to, like, read what's going on, right? Like, just look at this little passage of play, right? Oski's touch here, so weird. Sends it off to Vatira. Vatira rushes his shot, shoots it wide of a Chronic, not able to really, like, take his time and think. And that's what Liquid are doing, is they're forcing players who are normally so good in controlling the game, not giving them time to think, and then forces out more errors. So yeah, while Liquid are feeling mechanically clean, this playstyle can work. The moment they have an off day, this won't work. And that's the scary thing for them, is like, do they focus on improving their structure to make them more... Oh, like this, look at how good this is, right? What a save from Exotic, but like, still... Lovely shot there from a Chronic. And again, it's literally goes up, gets the bump, lands upfield. Exotic, bit too close to the play. A nice powerful touch from Atto because they're moving fast. The balls get much, move around the pitch a lot faster, a lot harder to read. Just misreads that situation. Atto with his speed comes in and punishes that loss of control by Exotic. Right? Really good touch forward, a Chronic, great read, great touch on. But yeah, they are forcing more mistakes out of opposition, forcing more mistouches, forcing more rush plays, and then their speed really does punish it. So definitely a different approach to the game. I don't think it's as reliable. I don't think it's as reproducible, especially if you're having good and bad days. Like, they're obviously all playing really well with that style right now. They're all feeling it. They're producing much more challenging touches to read. Like, look at what's happened to KCorp right here. They're panicking, right? Itachi mistouches there. Tries to touch that one middle. Itachi gets a nice touch middle here, and there's a goal scoring opportunity just based off of the boost diving that happened. And then, to be fair, Chronic did get that 100 there. But, like, there is no threat on this ball, and yet Itachi jumped super early to it. And that's what this playstyle does, is it forces teams to play at a rhythm that's faster than they're used to. And then they start, like, going at things when they've got more time, right? Like, right here, Itachi could just chill out. And while he chills out, that gives Exotic the time upfield to do some disruption. Maybe go for a bump and stuff like that. But instead, because he commits, then Exotic has to start rushing back, right? So yeah, it's interesting how, like, the playstyle itself forces the opponent to play in a more rushed, panicky way. And, like, every playstyle has its overdone and underdone strengths. You know, like, structure overdone can often lead to lack of creativity. So a combination of a good structure that allows you to be creative is key. And, like, we've seen that now with BDS, right? They have a good structure still, but they lack a bit of creativity from where they've not... You know, they're not feeling as good, they're not playing as freely, and so on. And so they're lacking that execution in the final moment, so lacking the goal-scoring ability, despite having still a good structure. Where this is at the other end of the spectrum, where it's so creative and mechanical and speedy and zoomy that it's really hard to read. It's really hard to understand what's going on in the lobby because they're moving so fast. They're making what you would call dumb decisions, but you have to make some dumb decisions in a game in the sense of you have to take risks and you have to go for the plays that are a little bit more risky. And here they're making those plays all the time, which makes the opponent feel uncomfortable. And then in situations where they've overcommitted or they've made a silly mistake or whatever it is, they're not getting punished as often because KCorp feel uncomfortable and rushed. So then KCorp feel sloppy and make more mistakes, right? So like this goal here, Oski really aggressively challenges there. Right here, aggressively coming in, challenging. Atto's already in on the next one before Oski's had a chance to recover. Right? Rotating in, super aggressively, pre-jumps in on that challenge. Oski's already up, but like, he wasn't even going for that ball. It looks like he was going for the ball, but he's not actually going for the ball. He's just going in for a bump on the line towards that ball. So Itachi panics there, then Vatira comes in, panic clears it, Exotic panics because he's like, oh god, they're going to come in so fast. So I have to get that, but then misses it, then a Chronic mistouched it because the whole interactions right now are going unpredictably in favor of Liquid. And then this is actually a really smart touch here from, I think it's Atto maybe? I can't follow this play, yeah, it must be Atto. Really smart touch from Atto just to keep possession of the ball and take the possession away. Puts it back towards the middle, and then that makes it really uncomfortable for Itachi and Exotic. And you see right here, Exotic getting punished for flipping back towards the net, right? Which put him out of position. So like, because of this chaos, it's kind of throwing off KCorp. So yeah, it's interesting because we saw a similar thing with the club in South America. Is their opponents don't look as good against them just because of how fast and chaotic it is. And like, you're not going to be able to outplay them in the chaos. You're going to have to try and find a way to control the chaos. Let's go to this final game here and see what's going on. What are you guys thinking looking at this? Are you seeing a similar kind of thing here, that Liquid's game plan is very different and unique to the rest of the top teams right now? And like, it works, right? Like, it clearly works. They won a whole regional. But it does have an anomaly-like results. Anomaly of results, which is you're going to have wins every now and again. You're going to have weird losses every now and again because you have to be playing and feeling so good. Like here, right? You see, like, moments like this, Oski super chaotically goes for it. A Chronic commits to that ball. So in theory right there, there's an overcommit, right? But just due to the chaos, KCorp are not structured well around that overcommit. So then it takes them a little bit of time to get into position, right? So like, Exotic gets a weird interaction there. Atto gets very close to the play. And then Itachi here. Great little outplay. Good few 50-50s there. Just going to leave. Now Vatira comes in. And you see just some good interactions there. Now Exotic has to go. Look at the boost up in the top corner, right? So you can see how, literally just from this moment here, KCorp, with a well-structured approach, right? Exotic there, a little bit weird and unusual, but like with a well-structured approach and some good individual, like, calmer plays, we're able to break them down, right? And now look, they're low on boost. There's only one player who's got boost on that team. Oski's just gone and got boost, but in defense, it's Atto, right? Atto just goes straight away. That interaction is won by Exotic. Exotic with boost, does well to break him down. And they end up scoring the goal. And like, they had to really work for that. Like, I'm not saying that was an easy goal. Like, they had to really work for that. But that all just came from a, you know, ball chasey rushed overcommit in the midfield where KCorp punished it. And like, I think it does rely a lot on mistakes, this playstyle, which thankfully it will get a lot of because it creates an uncomfortable environment for teams to perform in. So like the stats haven't changed, right? And like that's why when we're looking at the stats, for the most part, you can see consistencies across the stats, right? Like Itachi's stats in this regional look very similar to previous regionals compared to the team. Like boost stats don't tend to change much, movement stats don't tend to change much player to player. And you can see when someone changes something specific. So for Liquid, whatever they've changed from Regional 2 to Regional 3 is more based around their decision making and like the way they moved around each other on the pitch. Like you see here, right? Like this goal is just pure chaos, right? Like look at this just passage of play. Like this is just pure chaos. And like they're playing into the chaos. Like Itachi's lost the 50-50 here. Right there, probably should have just left that, right? So, a few interactions lost just from the chaotic environment. Liquid playing well might be unbeatable. KC playing well will make a really close game with another team that's playing well, right? Like Genji and KCorp playing against each other, both playing well. You know, either team could win it. And that's what happened when V1 played really well against Genji. Either team could have won that, right? It went down to the wire. Whereas Liquid playing well has the potential to just absolutely dominate a final and be unbeatable, right? Because they're playing faster, more chaotic, more mechanical than any other team. So this was the winning goal right here, right? Force a double commit out there. Atto takes control. So good mechanically here. Look, like, mechanically, unbelievable, right? The way that space was created was through, you know, like, if we just watch this period of play, right? Oski's gone upfield, taking a boost. That's taking boost away from Exotic. You know, they're on a bit of a counter-attack here. A Chronic has gone for a sort of nothing-y play, which is different to other situations. Like, it's so variable. Sometimes they'll go for a play, sometimes they'll do nothing. Sometimes they'll miss, sometimes they'll do a miraculous play, right? So it's so chaotic, and like a Chronic in that last situation, right? If we just watch him, just sort of chooses to just fly it towards the opponent, force out a play, and then rotate out. Then Atto, like, that is so good. Like, you just can't prepare for that situation, but that chaos beforehand with Oski on the bump run boost steal with a Chronic just going for a 50-50 was amazing use of the chaotic environment and just going for a safe neutral option to set up space. But anyway, I'm gonna call it there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this analysis, and like, this has definitely helped me appreciate what Liquid were trying to do as a team. I was very critical of them before because I saw the negative sides of it, which was very obvious through the stats that there are negative sides to it. But when done effectively, you can definitely tell what the game plan is, and that is to create a fast-paced, chaotic environment where it will force more mistakes out of your opponents through them feeling rushed and out of control, and it will open up more rotational bumps, more rotational boost steals. It will mean that you'll be able to intercept more balls because you're moving faster around the pitch. But it does mean that on your off days, those decisions are much harder to make in an informed way because you're making them in split seconds. So therefore, if your mechanics aren't on, or if you're feeling a little bit off, those split-second decisions are going to be less effective. So it'll be interesting to see how it works at the Major. We've got two super chasey teams in the Club and Liquid, and we'll see how they do, especially on a LAN environment with nerves, and potentially against teams like Genji or Version 1 who look to control the gameplay a little bit more. And KCorp, obviously, you can see here, it does work against controlling teams despite them being so effective at controlling chaotic lobbies normally. So if Liquid are on, they could very well win the Major.